Welcome back to the 411 Podcasting Network. I am your host, Larry Csonka, and this is episode 9 of the 411 On Wrestling Podcast. Today we are going to discuss NXT Takeover New York and WrestleMania 35. And my guest today is the Kobayashi to my Kaiser Soze, Jeremy Lambert Jr. III. How are you, Jeremy?
Oh, good. Tired. It's been a long week, but I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me back, Larry.
Of course, man. I mean, it's what we do. So, it was it's not WrestleMania weekend so much anymore. It's almost a week now because it's like almost 5 days now because some started Wednesday night. And there's just a lot going on over the week. What is some of the stuff you caught outside of what we're going to talk about today?
I feel like I watched just about everything. I watched the 2 Janela shows. I watched part of Penis Party. I watched Evolve. I watched the debut of Beyond, the Uncharted Territory event. Orange Cassidy does something, maybe, whatever. A lot of the GCW stuff, a lot of the stuff from the collective, the WWN, the Super Show, which was awesome. And of course, NXT G1 and WrestleMania. So I watched a little bit of and the the Friday night not the Black Label show, but whatever that weird show was where they did human sacrifices and whatnot, which was a complete train wreck in the best way possible. So yeah, I watched plenty of wrestling this past week.
I think that was like Black Craft Wrestling or something.
Yeah, Black Craft Wrestling. That's okay, it. Yeah. What a wacky show that was.
Did you catch any of Josh Barnett's Bloodsport?
Yes, I did. I meant to say that one as well. Yes, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, which was fantastic as well. Obviously, Suzuki killing people, and the Barnett match was really good, and there's some awesome finishes on that show as well. I don't remember half of what I watched this past week because when you watch that much, it just kind of all blends together and you forget what's on what show. But yeah, I did watch Josh Barnett's Bloodsport as well.
Yeah, I didn't get to obviously review as much this year because my time in the wheelchair is limited. But quite honestly, just to keep it fresh with everybody, wheelchairs are not built for comfort. My ass starts to hurt, so I got to get up after like 3 hours, and which made WrestleMania and the G1 show rather tough. But I cherry picked. I took recommendations from my good European friends Ian Hamilton and Arnold Furious, who used to write for 411, and they sent me a bunch of recommendations, and I checked out a bunch of really great stuff. I'm finishing up my top matches of WrestleMania weekend list. The Bloodsport show it was way better than last year's. Not that last year's was bad, but this year was just really good. Like Timothy Thatcher and Hideki Suzuki was really good. Josh Barnett and Minoru Suzuki was really good. And Jonathan Gresham and Takeda was really good, as was Davey Boy Smith Jr. and Killer Cross. So that show had a lot of fun. And basically, if you don't know what the Bloodsport show is, it's a ring with no ropes, and they're doing knockout submission finishes. It's basically it's kind of like Pride. It's worked MMA. To a point, and it's a guy like Davey Boy Smith Jr. who still does all kind of catch wrestling and tournaments, and a guy like Suzuki who just likes to, kill people. They thrive in that kind of atmosphere. So that was fun, and then I cherry picked a bunch of matches from a lot of the shows you mentioned, and there was a lot of great stuff this weekend. There was also a lot of failures. There was an IPW House of Glory show, I think, that drew like under 20 people. Which that's telling you right there, too many fucking shows.
There's definitely a lot of shows. I understand every indie wants to, be there and get their shit in, but some of these shows, and like Friday night in particular, you had NXT Penis Party and part one of Janela's show and MLW, like all going on at the same time. And I realize there's 80,000 people in town for WrestleMania, but it's just so much going on, and people only have so much money, and there's so much wrestling during the week that some of these shows just I don't know how they actually do make money on these events.
Yeah, and that's the problem, because it's not a thing of like, you have to watch everything. It's just the fact that you run into stuff like you said on Friday night. There's like 3, 4, 5, 6 shows going on overlapping at the same time. And, no offense to Joey Ryan's penis party and MLW, but people are going to go to NXT, and stuff like that. And it's hard. And, the Janela shows both sold out well in advance. So, I mean, from everything I heard, and I'll be posting a podcast from former 411 contributors Jerome Cuson and Ryan Rosansky, who watched a ton of the non-WWE stuff, and apparently from what I've heard, and I watched some of it, the collective shows and GCW stuff were really good, got a lot of good reviews, and I found some good matches on those. And it's great matches actually. But yeah, it's there was a lot of stuff going on, a lot of good things. And so before we get into Takeover, I want to remind everybody that the show is available on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and of course posting on 411 with the embedded player and the YouTube of it. And if you want to share that around and give us some reviews on iTunes, we would greatly appreciate it. But NXT Takeover is first show we're going to talk about. And going into it, Jeremy, we were both very excited for this show. I said it was a sexy and stacked card. And this show delivered massively. I loved it. I'd call it the greatest takeover ever so far. It was a 5-match show based all on titles and wrestling and characters you can invest in. It's a very simple concept, which a lot of people don't seem to get these days in wrestling. Thing is like when you do it right, honestly, pro wrestling is pretty easy. You have these guys or women. You try to create compelling characters with stories that have goals and accomplishments, and you try to take people on a journey, and then it's your job to deliver. In the end, you need to tell a good story, and then hopefully everybody delivers. And that was the story of Takeover New York. And we started off with the tag team title match. Champions, the War Raiders, retained against Dusty Classic winners Aleister Black and Ricochet. Jeremy, your thoughts?
NXT does this very well, where they just have these tag team matches. For anyone who thinks tag team wrestling is dead in WWE, I mean, it might be in WWE, but in NXT, they kick off these takeover shows with these tag team matches, and they're just always awesome. Always. And this was another example of that. The War Raiders are great. Aleister Black and Ricochet are obviously great. And, all these guys can do a little bit of everything. You see Hanson and Rowe flying around like they're luchadors out there. Obviously, Ricochet is unmatched when it comes to athleticism. And Aleister Black is, I don't know if he's sneaky underrated when it comes to athleticism, but you don't think of him as one look at him, you think of him more as a striker. And I mean, the guy can kind of do flippy stuff as well. And it's just a great way to kick off this show. And it was going to be tough for them to follow this. They actually did follow it. I agree with you that this was probably my favorite show of the weekend because it wasn't 5 hours long. There was no real dead spots. It was just great match after great match. And yeah, this show kicked it off the right way. The War Raiders winning was seemingly never in doubt because Black and Ricochet were going up to the main roster. But it was still, I mean, people still bought in. They got the nice send-off at the end with the War Raiders bowing to them. Yeah, just an excellent match. 4 guys who are just great wrestlers. And it's quite amazing that Black and Ricochet, who aren't really known as tag team guys and were pretty much thrown together because they got caught up to the main roster. There was no rhyme or reason for them to be a tag team, and now they're a tag team, and fuck, they're excellent.
They're great. That's the thing too. It's like, it's how it played out. And I think that, like, the big story in that is, a lot of people forget is, Ricochet kind of avoided 205 Live. And I like 205 Live, but if we're being honest, not a ton of people watch it. They're always stuck on the pay-per-view pre-shows. And, it would have been almost a waste of his talent. So the fact that, he's tagging with Black right now, it works for me. They're great. They delivered a ton of great matches in March. Excellent match here. And it was a really nice send-off for them. And that's always nice to see, because you could tell the fans completely appreciated those guys. And to your point of the titles not changing hands, not being in doubt, I agree. But the thing is when you work such an excellent match and you have that much of an invested crowd, you can get past a lot of that, even without, like, the great drama or storytelling of, like say Bryan and Kofi at Mania, who was a great match, excellent match, had a great story behind it, though. This just was everything I think the fans wanted. And I think what helped is they kind of broke from the typical tag formula. They didn't do, like, the long heat segment. They didn't do the hot tag stuff. It was just two really evenly matched teams. And at the end, the big lads ended up winning. They put away the flippy boy and his tattooed friend. And just an excellent way to kick off the show. And, you really can't ask for more when you get an opening match like that. It's a perfect way to kick off the show.
Yeah, and again, the bowing at the end, the kind of send off for Black and Ricochet was very fitting. I know the last set of tapings at Full Sail, they kind of did the big speech to the crowd saying this will probably be the last time they see him. But I figured they'll make an appearance at some point again, sort of like Sasha and Bayley. And NXT sometimes likes to bring these guys back for these one-off appearances. But yeah, just a great way to kick off this show. Really set the tone, as these tag team matches seem to do with TakeOver, and it gives you a, go out there and follow that feel, and then these guys end up following that.
I know, and that's the thing too, and I wrote that in the review. I said, normally I'd say good luck following that, but then you looked at the rest of the card and it's like, they're probably gonna, and they did. So next up was the NXT North American Championship match with champion the Velveteen Dream retaining against Matt Riddle. Velveteen Dream came out dressed as the Statue of Liberty, was carried to the ring on a throne. He's amazing. You gotta love the dude. He's just charisma, everything. The in-ring keeps getting better and better and better. And he and Riddle delivered another great match. I didn't think it was quite as good as the tag match. And I know there's varying opinions on that, but thought it was a very great match. And I was kind of surprised that Dream retained, but not shocked or anything. And I thought that the finish played well, because Dream just kind of countered into a cradle and caught Riddle after Riddle was basically getting frustrated the whole time that he couldn't put Dream away. And that kind of led to his downfall. Your thoughts?
The entrance for Velveteen Dream was fantastic. We talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago, that this is sort of the thing that I was looking forward to. One of the things I was looking forward to the most is to see what his entrance was, what he was going to be wearing. The tights were not like Riddle specific. I expected maybe some weed leaves on the trunks or something like that, but it was very Velveteen Dream in this match, and I thought that was kind of a nice little touch. Honestly, it shows that he's kind of getting more into his own character instead of getting into the head of his opponents. He feels he doesn't have to sort of play these bigger set of mind games. He's more comfortable just being Velveteen Dream now. But he still had the big elaborate Statue of Liberty entrance, which was awesome. And then, yeah, Velveteen Dream's in-ring work, it's still coming along. He's, 23 years old, something like that. He's already really, really good. I like that he does these moves of, past superstars. Like he broke out the code breaker. He obviously does the top rope elbow. He did the hulking up gimmick. And this one, he kind of does these moves. I think he did the Famouser as well. Like kind of these moves from these tough enough guys who essentially cut him. And now he's one of the biggest stars at NXT, and in the next 5 years could be one of the biggest stars in the company. And he's taken all their moves and everything. I think it's a great piece of storytelling. And Riddle, I said before, this was going to kind of be that showcase match for Matt Riddle to show WWE fans what he can really do, because I don't think he's quite had that chance. And it really was, they got extended time in this one. Riddle worked sort of more of his brutal, strong style. He got, frustrated at times. He kind of showed a little bit of a heelish tactic. I like that sort of mix in there. And then, yeah, he got overconfident. He's very chill and laid back, and he thought he had it in the bag, and Dream kind of stole it from him. So I thought this was maybe not the best technical match on the show, but as far as just a complete piece of storytelling goes, I really like that aspect of this match. And I thought that was one of the things that would carry this match, because that's one of the things that sort of carries a lot of Dream's matches right now, is even though he's not the smoothest guy still, the storytelling with him is really, really strong. And they played into it. I was sort of surprised. Like, this just speaks to the quality of Velveteen Dream, that this guy, like, Riddle is super over. The hardcore fans love Matt Riddle, who have followed him through his Evolve run and his independent run. Like, they really love this guy. And by all accounts, he's just a great person. And Velveteen Dream comes in there and he gets the majority of the cheers. And I don't know if it was planned for Riddle to kind of work more as a heel, or if they did it on the fly. But either way, I thought the layout of this match was really strong.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's really, I like, one of the reasons I like following and covering NXT is kind of the same thing as like why I really dig following the Young Lions in New Japan, and when they do like the Lionsgate events, because you see like in New Japan, like watching someone like Umino grow, who just had a fucking banger with Tanahashi in the New Japan Cup, and then but you see him coming in, and kid looks good and everything, and he gets those hope spots, he gets those near falls and the tag matches, and then you see him just grow and grow and grow. And that's what I like about certain things with NXT, is you see someone like Dream, who came in with limited experience, and you're basically watching him grow from being built from the ground up. And again, we talked about this last time we talked, just it was best for him that he stayed in NXT, because he's just getting better. And as you said, he has potential to be a major star, obviously, if booked right on the main roster in the future. And just watching him grow, and he keeps delivering great matches, and he obviously has the character work down, and he just gets it.
Yeah, I hope he stays in NXT for, at least another year. I don't want him on the main roster right now. The main roster just seems to be a death sentence for some of these guys, and he's still so young. Just let him be down there. Let him kind of keep doing his thing on that brand. He'll get over on the main roster because he is such a star. I just don't have any faith that they'll use him correctly. Like, they clearly don't have a plan when they call these guys up. I'm not saying No Way Jose should be the biggest star in the company. Far from it. This guy should easily be an opening match heater that gets the crowd into it and gets everybody on their feet and having fun. And he's just like doing nothing every single time. And I'm not saying Dream is going to fall to that level, but it's very obvious there's no plan for a lot of these guys.
Well, you remember when we went to that the NXT show in Concord, that No Way Jose got one of the biggest reactions on the show, and he was on a show with Austin Aries and Hitami and stuff, and Balor, and it's just like he came
Nakamura
on.
was on that show as well.
Yeah, so it's like I remember Christy fucking loved him because he was just so much fun and energetic, and everybody just dug him, you know.
Yeah, both of our wives were like, that was the person they reacted the most to. I mean, he just comes out there, and again, he really is the life of the party, and like this is who that guy should be. Is just you bring him out early on in the show, he gets the crowd up and into it, and you go from there. And like, there's just none of that on the main roster. And again, Dream is a much bigger star than No Way Jose really ever was. But anybody who watches NXT and WWE can just see the disconnect between the two brands when they call these guys up and just don't have any real plan for them. I dread whoever gets called up tonight on Raw and then tomorrow on SmackDown, because I don't know. I'm not sure what they're going to do with the guy who gets called up.
Well, it's just like you look at the last call, it's like Lacey Evans is still walking around. Heavy Machinery isn't doing much. Lars hasn't debuted yet. EC3 is like a fucking geek. And like, but then they bring up Black and Ricochet, and they lucked into something with them, and it's working. And yeah, I mean, hey, they didn't win on Raw last week. It was a count out thing. They lost the Takeover, but they had an excellent match. And they didn't win at WrestleMania. I was hoping they would. But they've been booked way better than any of the other guys.
Yeah. As far as Dream and Riddle go, again, just another great match. Dream retaining is fine by me, because hopefully that means he's going to stay around for a little while. And Matt Riddle, he's going to be fine. Like he'll continue to be over. That's the thing about NXT is guys are just always over, especially these guys who have an established identity and who can work a match like Matt Riddle. So I'm not worried about either of these guys. And as far as the match goes, I thought it was great. I think I told you this was a match I was really looking forward to, and I thought they delivered for what they needed to deliver.
Exactly. They got plenty of time, and it was great. I loved it. And real quick, just to go back to No Way Jose before we go on, you know, if he's lucky, because like you talked about, like the opening match guy and everything, if he's lucky, he can, you know, work himself into like an R-Truth type thing. Because I mean, R-Truth is almost 50 years old, and dude is still in great shape, and he works hard. He proved this year that when you give him a chance, he can have great matches. And the other thing is like, yeah, he does a lot of the comedy shit. Vince loves that. But the thing is, he's such a great live event guy. You know, open up the show, get the crowd hot, and that, you know, No Way Jose can be that kind of guy. And there's nothing wrong with that. You're going to make your money. You're going to work a safer style. You're not going to beat yourself up. And, you know, so that's a good deal for him. But
R-Truth is going to be around for another 30 years, so No Way Jose is screwed in that spot.
It looks like it, though. It's like the man does not age. It's creepy, actually. But next up, they showed in the crowd the latest NXT signee, which had been, you know, reported previously. But Kushida made his live debut in the crowd. He was the big crowd guy this time around. And Kushida, obviously a great addition to the brand.
Yeah, we talked about who was going to show up in the crowd, and we were both standing for Stokely Hathaway because we love that guy. Kushida, we probably should have seen coming. The report of him signing has been out there since January after he had his last match in New Japan, and they actually announced the signing like just before Takeover, and then he was in the crowd, got a really good reaction. I'm excited to see him in NXT. I'm glad he's in NXT. hanging out there instead of going up to 205 Live. And I mean, he's going to be great. Anybody who hasn't seen Kushida in New Japan, they're in for a treat. I mean, really, NXT is just, they can do no wrong, it seems like, and they keep bringing in these guys, and he's gonna work a really good style with these guys. Like, I'm really excited to see him against a guy like a Matt Riddle, against, I don't know if he's gonna face Gargano, if he's gonna get to that level, but somebody like Gargano, the Undisputed Era guys. There's just so many great matches for him in NXT.
Yeah, and the good thing is too is like he's actually worked a lot with Kyle O'Reilly. I'd love to see a rematch with them. He's worked with Bobby Fish. He's worked with Strong, all in ROH/New Japan. And yeah, if you don't know anything about Kushida, he was basically their, he was basically the Tanahashi of the junior division. He was the guy that he had several reigns. He held the division together when there were injury issues and stuff, and just he's excellent. So he's a great signing. So we moved on to the NXT UK Championship. Champion Pete Dunne finally lost the title, as we talked about, to Walter, and another excellent pro wrestling match.
This was I think your match of the weekend, as far as the one you were looking forward to the most. And they worked just a completely different style than the first two matches. While the first two matches were sort of more high octane pace, Walter and Dunn sort of slowed things down a little bit, at least in the early portions of the match. They did Pete Dunne and Walter things where they just beat the shit out of each other and manipulated body parts, and it was excellent. And then things picked up at the end. Walter comes off the top rope with a fucking splash and beats Pete Dunne. Just another great match. And it's really, again, Pete Dunne, we talked about it last week. Like, this guy, you look at his match to great match ratio, and it's almost 1-to-1. Like, this guy delivers every time out. And Walter, if it's a guy you hadn't seen prior to WWE, now you know what he's all about. And it'll be interesting to see where they go in NXT UK. Like, Walter, they haven't like built anybody up to really challenge this guy. Like, that's why Pete Dunne really like lacked challengers. I think he faced like who at the takeover, Joe Coffey at the takeover special.
Yeah.
And it's like, all right, who is Joe Coffey? What has he really done? And Walter comes in, and obviously he's established, and it's like, okay, this guy could beat Pete Dunne. But now you're looking at that NXT UK roster, and there's Devlin, and Walter and Devlin would be awesome. Their feud in OTT is awesome, and like, that seems like a ready-made feud. Other than that, like, they've got to get this guy some challengers, or they just got to have him kill fools, because that's what Walter should be doing anyway.
Yeah, definitely. I would have him just destroy some people for a bit. You can obviously do the Pete Dunne rematch, because I mean, yeah, he lost, but near 700 days as champion, I have no problem with a immediate rematch there. You could also heat up Tyler Bate as a single. They've worked together in the past and had great matches. But yeah, the Devlin feud, they've been doing pretty good with Devlin, and I would love for them to really heat him up and see if they can recreate some of that magic like they had at the OTT show just recently, because just excellent stuff with those guys. So yeah, the Big Daddy is the new champion. And yeah, be careful what you wish for, because Pete Dunne wanted Walter, and he got him. He got all of them.
Yeah, a rematch would certainly be the way to go. I feel like you could even do. They got to have another NXT UK takeover at some point, and like, this is the match you obviously you can easily headline with. So that would seem to be the direction. I know they're doing the international superstar shakeup next week, I believe, and so it does seem like Pete Dunne can move on to something else at that point, while still popping up in NXT UK, at least until the next takeover special. The Pete Dunne rematch definitely seems to make the most sense while they heat up somebody. And Devlin, I think, is both of our sort of preferred option. But if they need to heat up somebody in the meantime before they further establish Devlin, that's fine too. Walter's not losing the title anytime soon. I wouldn't suspect. I mean, Dunn held it for 685 days or something. So NXT, and again, there's no real established guy who's taking it from Walter for the time being. So heat up somebody, let Walter kill guys, give Pete Dunne the rematch. Walter's title reign should be awesome. Pete Dunne's title reign was really good. I think sort of underrated because people just, I don't know how many people are watching NXT UK, but like we talked about, this guy just has a great match every time out. And you go back and just watch his NXT UK title defenses, and there weren't too many of them, but you watch all of them, and it's like all these matches are, 4 stars at the very worst. And then even some of his lesser matches were good as well. So great title run for Pete Dunne. I know Triple H said on the NXT media call, like, the future is bright for this guy, even though he lost the title. He's 25 years old. He's already really good. I like his bruiserweight character. I actually wish they would just do more kind of with that character. I don't want this guy on 205 Live. You put this guy on 205 Live and just have him kill some of these flip guys. It would be awesome. Nobody would see it, but it would at least be awesome. But Pete Dunne's gonna be fine. Although I may have just given him a death wish on 205 Live.
Yeah. Pete is really, really good, and that's another guy. You look at guys like him and Tyler Bate and Velveteen Dream in their early 20s, and there's so much that they get, and they deliver, and they're just going to get better. Is the scary thing. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Pete. And you brought up the Superstar shakeup, and I think there's a chance that Buddy Murphy could move away from 205 Live because he's been excellent there, and they did the title change at Mania, which we'll talk about later. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who they shuffle around and where and how it all shakes out. But our next title match was the NXT Women's Championship Fatal 4-Way. Champion Shayna Baszler versus Bianca Belair versus Kairi Sane versus Io Shirai. Your thoughts?
It felt like a sprint. I don't know actually how long it was, but everyone got their spots in. I was not too surprised that Shayna Baszler won. We talked about it previously that any of these women could win and it would feel like the right move because they're all great and they all have different threads and stories where they can go. I like Shayna Baszler as the champion. I know some people want her to get called up, especially if Ronda is going to take time off now, and Baszler would seem like a perfect replacement in that aspect. But I like Shayna Baszler, and this would have been the time to take the title off of her because you could have her lose the title without beating her. But I like her just kind of running through this division. They're clearly still trying to protect Io and Kairi, but not having them take the loss. And Bianca passed out instead of tapped out, I believe. So I like the NXT women's division. Just a lot of really good wrestlers. I feel like they're trying to build up Candice LeRae a little bit, which is the right move. Candice LeRae sort of taking the title from Baszler would seem to be a natural story almost. I mean, LeRae is, I don't want to be upsetting to her and call her a female Gargano, but she has that sort of same underdog vibe, and they're obviously married, and the story is there for LeRae to sort of play that female Gargano character, but in her own right. And Baszler is just sort of this bully type character, and she's picked on LeRae before. So I would think that would be the direction they're going. I worry that Kairi and Io are now going to get called up and be put in the women's tag team division, which would be fine. But again, any NXT call up, I just worry about on the main roster. But Kairi would seem to have to be called up prior to next year's WrestleMania because they're doing a pirate theme. And if Kairi Sane's not on that show and in a big match, it would just feel like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, you bring up her and Candice and possible call-ups. According to Big Dave Meltzer on the Wrestling Observer radio show this morning, apparently Kairi Sane and Candice LeRae are two women they've talked about calling up, which is why they were in the Women's Battle Royal last night. So they could be kind of next on the thing. And the good thing is like there are a lot of other women too behind like these four we just talked about that are ready to step up. There's a lot of women on that roster. You have Mia Yim waiting right there. They haven't, there's a lot to do with EO still. Because she's been in the mix and she's been a lot of fun, but there's a lot to do with her, just as her. Her team with Kairi Sane is so much fun, and that's why I really hated when Bayley and Sasha lost at Mania because I wanted to see them versus the Sky Pirates. I was like, that looks like a fucking killer match on paper, and but we got the Iconics. But anyway, yeah, Shayna retains. I thought it was great. It went a little over 15. And, I thought it was basically a really great all-action sprint match. Everybody got some time to shine. I really liked the drama and the conflicted emotions between Kairi and Io when they had to fight or break up a pin or something. I liked that they were willing to break things up and fight a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh my God, we're heel turning women. So I think that worked really well. Nice little
it's every woman for themselves, and the title's on the line. So even though they're friends, they should be breaking up these pins and trying to win the title. So I thought that was very well done. I didn't get the impression that these women now hate each other and they're gonna turn heel. Like, it was really just, it's a competitive match for a title and they both want to win. So okay, even though their friend is got the pinfall, like, who cares about that? Like, they want the pinfall. So I thought those teases were well done, and I didn't put any more stock into it than they just both want to win. There's no, I can't see either of them actually turning, at least not right now, and being like, "Grr, you cost me the title."
Yeah. So again, I think everyone that I've seen, like reading reviews, everyone agrees technically the weakest match on the show, but still, depending on who you read, very good to great. And it's again, the card just keeps rolling around along, delivering really great stuff, and that led to our main event, which was for the vacant NXT Championship, best 2 out of 3 falls match, Jonathan Gargano, or Johnny Wrestling, versus Adam Cole, baby. Your thoughts, Jeremy?
I was honestly surprised that Adam Cole was just as over as he was in this match. Like, no offense to Adam Cole, whose NXT run has been really, really, really strong. I don't know if I used enough reallys there, but it's been so good. But like, he was going up against Gargano. The story was built for Gargano to win. Like, they're in Brooklyn, and I thought just Gargano was just gonna have just the entire 100% crowd support on his side, and it was more split, and Adam Cole was just so over from the start of this match. And by the end of it, everyone was coming around on Gargano, but I was just surprised that just the crowd really loves Adam Cole. And I'm not saying he should have won this match, but like we talked about, if Adam Cole had won, there was an obvious story there, and holy shit, was this guy over when I didn't expect him to have that much support going up against Gargano. As far as the match goes, like, it's Johnny Gargano on a takeover show. So first off, I don't care who he's working against. It's going to be a great match. Second off, he's working against Adam Cole. So, and you look at Adam Cole's track record on TakeOver, it's just as good as Gargano's track record. Like, this guy has great matches every time he's on TakeOver as well. So it was always going to be a great match. The 2 out of 3 falls stipulation allowed them to have that time. You know, Gargano goes down 1-0, which was pretty much the story they were going to tell. It got a little muddy with the Undisputed Era interference and the ref bump. I was like, I don't know about this, but the story worked in that Gargano has to overcome, and he overcame the ref bump, he overcame the shenanigans, he overcame Undisputed Era. You know, he kicked out of everything Cole and Undisputed Era threw at him, and then he got the victory. So the story really worked. The action was obviously great. Again, it's Gargano and Cole on a TakeOver main event, and yeah, it's Gargano winning. I have no issue with that call. Like we talked about, you can go either way with these guys. Either Cole wins and then Undisputed Era runs the show, or Gargano wins and you get that great moment, and they got that great moment. I wonder where they're going to go with Gargano now, because he is, I'm saying he's Tommy Dreamer, where he never needed to win the title, and like he should always lose these matches because you don't want to build them up as just a complete loser. But he's the champion now, and he's not chasing, like he's not underdog Gargano anymore. He's world champion Gargano, and it'll be, it'll be interesting to see where they go with him from here.
Yeah, and I saw that, there were people that didn't like the ending stretch. And listen, I don't like interference and ref bumps. I think 99 times out of 100, they take away from a match, and they rarely ever help it. But as you mentioned, in terms of the story, which was Gargano overcoming finally getting the monkey off his back, finally winning the big match, finally winning the championship, it works in that context. You can't do it all the time. You can't do it every TakeOver. You can't do it every month. You can't do it every week, for sure. But in the context of the story, I think it worked great. I absolutely love this. I thought it was amazing. And I went the full 5 on it. I was just, I loved it. I thought both guys were awesome. I thought the story played out well. And then you get the feel-good moment at the end. Candice comes out, celebrates with her husband. They had told the story that when Johnny challenged Andrade for the title last year, that Johnny's father was in the hospital and couldn't be there, but he was there tonight. And he got to hug his dad and celebrate. And then they kind of teased you, because they go up on the ramp and Johnny and Candice are hugging, and it's a good time. And that bald motherfucker walks out. And you're thinking, like, is he going to fucking toss him in the LED board again? Because, like, how many times did that happen? It was always at the very end when they're going off and about to show the credits. But they did the big hug and embrace. And I know some people kind of shit on that because they never finished the story. But again, there's speculation that Ciampa's going to be gone a year. And Triple H said on the conference call that, if you've been watching the videos that they produced and they talked about their longtime friendship, it's one of those things where his defense was that he feels that Ciampa figured that if he couldn't have the title, he was okay with Johnny having it. And the thing is, too, is when he comes back, he was going to get a babyface reaction when he comes back. So I think it was okay to babyface him here. And you can always revisit it. Things can happen, and you can tell the story in a different way. So, but yeah, great close to the show. I gave the show a full 10. I loved it. Best takeover ever. Easily the show of the weekend for me.
On Ciampa and Gargano, I tweeted that I wanted Ciampa to lay him out, and Steve Cook called me a monster. But I I get the moment. I truthfully didn't have an issue with the moment. I tweeted it as just a sort of a joke, but also wanting to like, I thought it would have been fitting if Ciampa was like, because as you said, like you show those videos, this guy is a baby face now. And he even tweeted like, oh, there goes my heat. Like you can't have this guy be a heel anymore, at least upon quick return. But if he lays out Gargano in that moment, it's like, okay, this guy is now, he still sucks. So he immediately gets his heat back. But as far as the moment goes, I thought it was very fitting. And yeah, like we talked about the other week, a lot depends on just how long Ciampa is out for. And if he's going to be out for a year, then there's no reason to try to set up this match with Gargano, and you can't deliver on it for a year. Like they've done it once and it worked and it was good. I don't think it was quite a year that he was out for. But they've done it once, and I just don't know how long you can wait to kind of do that again. And if Gargano can even be in NXT for a full year, after he'd already kind of been called up and everything. And now if Candice is going to get called up, like usually WWE likes to keep the pairings together there because they care about families, even though they don't give them health care. But I did like that Ciampa was there to celebrate. If you've watched those videos, you know that it's wrestling, folks. They don't like each other on screen. They're still best friends off screen, and they probably go on double dates and all this stuff all the time. So Ciampa being there was a cool moment to close the show. He even tweeted afterwards. He kind of planted some seeds, like, one of us is the true champion, and you can take that as, is he giving props to Gargano? Is he saying like, yeah, he never beat me, I'm still the champion? So Ciampa is really, I mean, he's the greatest sports entertainer of all time. He's really good at this stuff, and he's gonna be fine even while he's injured, doing these little things on social media that hopefully they kind of pick up on and they build on. So I hope Ciampa is back sooner rather than later. Obviously, get your neck right. Don't rush it back. But it sucks that he's out. As far as the moment goes, yeah, people seem to be sort of split on it. I think more people enjoyed it than didn't like it. But it's, let Gargano had his really good feel good moment. His best friend he's out for however long he's out for. If he wants to come out there and, make up with them and be friends and have that happy moment to close the show, there's nothing wrong with sending the fans home really, really happy in that moment. It doesn't have to all be doom and gloom. And everybody went home happy on that show. And yeah, as far as the overall product, no bad matches on this show, no dead spots, nothing like that. Just fantastic from start to finish. If you want to call it the best takeover ever, then I don't have an issue with it. I feel like every takeover is the best takeover ever at this point because they're always just so great. But this one was certainly right up there. And the Undisputed Era tease real quickly on that, kind of after the show. I don't know if they're gonna break up. I almost feel like they can right now because, as I said, Adam Cole is so over right now that if you want to jump him out of Undisputed Era, like this guy is going to be fine. Like he might turn into the biggest baby face in the company, and you get extra heat on Undisputed Era. I don't know if they have a leader at that point, but they're just three guys who can still run the show and three great professional wrestlers. So a lot of directions to go in coming out of this show, which is always the great things about Takeover is you kind of end things, but you also have teases of starting some new things as well. And you can sort of see where things could be going and see little threads of where they could be going with stuff. And NXT is just so perfect. Papa Paul does an amazing job with it.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where they go with the next set of tapings because, you have, as you said, you have Undisputed Era, Gargano's champion, War Raiders, Dream. it'll be interesting to see where they all go. And then again, you have guys right underneath, especially with Black and Ricochet gone. You have a Keith Lee, a Donovan Dijakovic, and you have other guys that are ready to step up and are quality guys. So it'll be interesting to see how things kind of change, who moves up, who gets the opportunity, and what feuds we go into. So yeah, Takeover New York was fucking awesome. And I'm sorry if you didn't watch it, or for some reason I actually saw people telling me that you're going to look back at this show and regret liking it so much. And it's like,
how?
No, I'm not. People said that years ago when guys like me and JD Dunn and Scott Keith and others, and loved Canadian Stampede, and just wrote love letters to that show. And but no, I still love that show too. But yeah, NXT New York was awesome. And now we will talk about the other big WWE show of the weekend, the granddaddy of them all, the show that brought 8 million shows to the New York area, and it's 10:49 a.m. on the 8th as we record this, and WrestleMania just ended. So
yeah, literally just like 30 minutes ago, we were actually started this podcast and WrestleMania was still on.
And it was a long show, kids. It started at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, ended at almost 12:30, 7.5 hours. Now, even if I had thought the wrestling was really, really, really great, I don't think pro wrestling shows need to go 7.5 hours. I really don't. And it's not just because my ass was killing me because of the wheelchair. It's the fact that, there's times when I'm, doing a Wrestle Kingdom and it's getting near 6 hours or something. And, shows that I don't need them to be that long. I mean, I may enjoy the shit out of it, but I mean, yeah, I don't need 7.5 hours. And the other thing is I'm a big believer that, I thought the G1 show was a little too long too over the weekend. But I mean, there was and then we'll talk about that in the next episode. But it's just that I don't believe everybody has to be on the card.
And no, I'm with you. Yeah, 7.5 hours, way too long. I said this about Wrestle Kingdom, maybe not this year, but last year for sure. Like, Wrestle Kingdom is great. Like, Wrestle Kingdom 12 was fantastic, start to finish. It was still like a 6-hour show or something, and it's so much wrestling and just so much, like, by the end of it, you're just really burnt out no matter how good all of these matches are. I mean, 6 hours, 7.5 hours, I'm terrible at math, but that's 1/4 of a day. Like, it's literally a whole quarter of a day that you're spending watching one wrestling show. That's a lot of time to dedicate to just one wrestling show. And if you watch all these shows during WrestleMania week, this is the capper of them all, and you've really spent like 48 hours, maybe even more, just watching wrestling in the past 3-4 days. It's a lot of wrestling to watch. 48 might be a little high. I told you I'm terrible at math, but it's a lot of wrestling to watch. And yeah, 7.5 hours for one show. It's a lot. And I'm with you on getting everybody on the card. I watched my wife watched the main event with me last night, and it doesn't start until 11:45 or something, maybe even a little after midnight.
It actually started like 12:01, I think.
Yeah, and she's like, she comes upstairs, she wants to go to bed at like 10:30, and she says, oh, I want to watch the main event with you. She watched the Kofi match with me as well, and she's like, I want to watch the main event with you. She's like, how many matches are left? And this is in the middle of Triple H and Batista. I'm like, well, there's this match, and then there's the Kurt Angle match and the Finn Balor match, and then it's the main event. And she's like, what? Like, it's 10:30. What do you mean there are still 4 matches, including this one? and the main event. And I'm like, yeah, it's a long show. And she's just like, it's really dumb that they have to get like everybody on this show. It means more if not everybody is on this show, because then you get more time, and it just means more. Like, it doesn't feel as watered down. I'm like, yeah, I agree with it. And keep in mind, this is a very casual wrestling fan who stopped watching. Like, she used to watch it with me all the time, but she stopped watching because shows were just way too long, and there was just too many guys doing too many things. And yeah, and that's just her thoughts on this. And I feel like it's a valid opinion that you don't need to get everybody on these shows, and you don't need 7.5 hour shows. Either cut it down, or, and I think this will be the direction they go, make this show 2 days. Like, they can do it, and not only can they do it and do it successfully, it cuts into these indie shows as well. And they want to put a stop to that stuff. If you do a 2-day WrestleMania at 4 hours, 4.5 hours a piece, like, you're really cutting into these indie shows. I imagine if you can do, takeovers on Fridays, WrestleMania night 1 on Saturday, WrestleMania night 2 on Sunday. I know ROH and New Japan got the Garden for Saturday. It would have been much tougher to secure that venue, or even have the thought of, hey, let's run a show on this Saturday, if you're going up against essentially night 1 of WrestleMania. So I feel like this is where they're going to end up going within the next 3 or 4 years.
I think it'll be interesting because I keep seeing people say, well, it's going to cost them too much money to do it. Well, first of all, they have $1 billion TV deal now.
They just made $17 million on this show. Like, exactly. They're not worried about money.
But the other thing is, you have cities bidding for Mania now. They give WWE tax breaks. They give them venue deals. Now listen, if you're Tampa or you're New York or you're a place that has held WrestleMania in the past 10 years, say, the Jerry Dome in Dallas, whatever. And you made a buttload of money, and your local economy made like $150 million for that week because of all the stuff in town. You're going to be considering it if they come to you with a 2-day Mania proposal, because you could do Hall of Fame Thursday, Takeover Friday, Mania Saturday, Sunday. I think the key is going to be how New Japan does. Now, I know people are going to go, oh, WWE doesn't care about New Japan. But the thing is, New Japan is running 2 dates at the Tokyo Dome in January this year coming up. And the thing is I think if New Japan can pull 30,000 or so for each show, I think WWE will look at that and go, fuck, we can do 50. I mean, I think that New Japan...
The WrestleMania brand is so strong that, all right, these stadiums, it's tough to run back-to-back stadium shows like this. Entertainers do it all the time. I'm not saying WrestleMania is as big as, let's say, Taylor Swift, but, Taylor Swift runs back-to-back stadium shows in, like, Nashville, and that's her hometown, like, all the time. And she sells out both shows. Like, these top entertainers do it every single tour. Like, any entertainer that runs a stadium tour typically runs back-to-back nights in these big stadiums, because a lot of people want to see these shows, and it's WrestleMania. Like, it comes around once a year. I truthfully don't think they would have a problem selling out both shows. Maybe they have to lower the ticket prices for both shows. So, but you can split the difference, honestly. Like, instead of charging, this is a very low estimate, but instead of charging $60 for a ticket to one WrestleMania show, maybe you charge like 40 for both nights, 40 for each night, so 80 total. So, okay, fans are paying an extra $20. And again, this is a low estimate. Please don't yell at me like, I wish I could get a WrestleMania ticket for $60. But, you can do that. And fans are going to pay it. Like, fans are going to pay it. Like, look how many of these fans travel all across the world to go to WrestleMania. They're gonna shell out an extra $20 if they can go and see both of these shows. You can do packages of like, hey, you can go to both nights and you pay this
Well, that's the
price.
thing is, I was gonna mention they already do the big VIP packages to where you get Takeover, Hall of Fame, Mania, Raw, and SmackDown tickets, and like this like big, it's like depending on the seat you get, like $2,000 or whatever, and you go to all the shows. So yeah, I mean exactly. You alter the price a little bit, they'll still make a fuckload of money. And like you look at this card we're about to talk about, there's like 16 matches on it. And like you said, you break it up, 2 8-match cards, and you do 4 hours a show, and you're done. Because the thing is you have 205 Live, you have the 2 Battle Royals, you have 2 fucking tag titles for the men, you have the IC and US title. You just split them and move them. One mid card title on one show, one on another. One men's tag on one show, one on another. Maybe the other show has the women's battle royal and the women's tag, and then the other show has the women's singles match or whatever. But I mean, look at the roster, and just look at guys that aren't being used, and look at all the NXT people. You could easily do it. Now, I don't know if they're going to, but again, I think that if New Japan is successful at it, I think that they will look at that and go, we're fucking WWE. We can do that.
I completely agree. You can split it up into a Raw WrestleMania, SmackDown WrestleMania, whatever. Maybe it'll give them more incentive to, hey, we need these bigger matches on SmackDown as well. I don't think it would be an issue. Whether New Japan is successful at it or not, if New Japan is successful at it, it certainly it gives them more reason to explore the option. I really think it more comes down to WWE will be successful at it because it's WrestleMania weekend, and then it comes down to you ruin the indies. Like you really cut into the indies for both of those nights, and then again you throw on Takeover Friday night. The WWE owns that weekend even more. Like those companies are only there because of WWE in the first place, but now they like what is Joey Janela's spring break doing on? I guess you do it Friday after Takeover, but like you're not holding that show like Saturday night after Mania probably, and obviously you're not doing it Sunday. They want to cut into the indies. Like there's already the reports out there that they want to prevent so many indies from running in Tampa, and a lot of the companies have already secured venues and stuff. They don't like all these companies running during this weekend and basically piggybacking off of them. You add another WrestleMania show. I truthfully think that when it comes down to decisions like this, what's the pettiest move WWE can make? And they can just do this out of complete pettiness. And if they can do something out of pettiness, chances are they're going to do it.
Yeah, and I think combined, we kind of made the point too, where I talked about, just the overall economic impact, and your point being that, and it's the truth, because honestly, listen, we're not doing Rock and Austin anymore. It's not the main event that really draws anymore. It's the established WrestleMania brand, because people always go, why don't they run arenas anymore? Because they're legit selling 60 to 70,000 tickets in a fucking stadium every year, and like you said, making almost $17 million.
Yeah, WrestleMania. I mean, tickets sell out like just when they're announced on sale. Nothing is announced for the card. Like tickets go on sale in like November, maybe a little bit earlier, and like nothing is announced at all for the card. You barely have an inkling of where they're going to go nowadays. Like at least in previous years by Survivor Series, you could say like, oh, they're building this towards WrestleMania. Like if you look back on the Survivor Series card this year, you couldn't really say, yeah, this seems like a WrestleMania match. Like nobody had Kofi Kingston and Daniel Bryan as the WWE title match. for WrestleMania at Survivor Series. Like, okay, the Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, Ronda Rousey feud looked like it was going in that direction, but as always reported, plans change, but tickets still sell out almost instantly because it's the brand at this point. It's the WrestleMania name. People want to go to this event. They can run 2 shows. It'll be fine.
And to go to your point about Survivor Series and like you not knowing where they're going, you couldn't say back at Survivor Series if you told someone at Survivor Series that there was going to be no John Cena match, there was going to be no Undertaker appearance of any kind for the first time since like 2000, and people would be like, "What?" And then like you add in the Kofi thing, nobody saw the Kofi thing coming. People, there was no guarantee Batista was coming back, even though it was rumored. And so it's like you have a bunch of big name stuff that was either there or wasn't there. But again, you didn't know, but then the tickets just sold anyway because of the strength of the brand at this point. And that's, again, I may not be the biggest fan of the product at times, but I never slag off on the business. Because listen, you get almost $2 billion in TV rights in the U.S. And the amazing thing about that still is they did it by SmackDown losing, by USA not wanting SmackDown. So USA is like, we don't want SmackDown. You can go shop it somewhere else. And then they said, but we'll give you more money for Raw. So it's like, okay, we'll do that. And then Fox is like, hey, we got $1 billion for you. It's like, what? Like, how the fuck does that happen? But again, it's the strength of the brand. And, it doesn't mean that the shows are great. It means that the business is fucking great. So, let's get into this WrestleMania card, Jeremy.
Here we go. A 5-hour review of a 7-hour show.
Started off the kickoff show. We had 4 kickoff show matches. We started with the Cruiserweight Championship match. Tony Nese defeating champion Buddy Murphy in about 11 minutes. Your thoughts?
I think we're 2 of the only people who watched 205 Live. I enjoyed Buddy Murphy's title reign. I thought he did a lot for the title, especially after Cedric Alexander's good run. And Tony Nese, it's a guy they built up through the tournament. There's history between Nese and Murphy. It was nice that they let the crowd in early, so there wasn't 5 people in the crowd during this match. It was a good opener in a spot where, it got the crowd into things. The crowd was looking for some good wrestling at this point, especially if WrestleMania is the only show you're going to attend during the weekend. And they had a good match. I feel bad for these guys because 205 Live, on the whole, is a good 1-hour television show. And, these guys are just put on the kickoff show every single time. It's a dead brand. It's really a dead brand. Remember when they tried to tour like that? That worked out real well. It's a dead brand. I feel bad for these guys. I like Tony Nese. I think I don't know how he's going to do with the title, honestly. Tony Nese isn't a guy who strikes me as like, this guy's going to carry the division and carry the title. Well, while, Alexander had the story of the whole Cruiserweight Classic run and the police on Cedric and kind of being sort of an underdog. And Buddy Murphy had the story of cutting down and being forgotten in NXT. And then, coming to this brand and kind of reinventing himself and carrying the title. And Tony Nese is just a good wrestler, a good look, and we'll see if he can carry this title. But the problem is nobody on that show is in a position to carry any title right now because it's such a dead show.
And it's unfortunate because it was really good after Triple H took over, and there was a lot of great wrestling. But it's just, it's one of those things, and the moving around the time slot during like the Mae Young Classic and everything when they moved it to Wednesday and stuff like that didn't help either. And then like the taping schedule, the way they tape it, they were taping after SmackDown all the time, and nobody really cared. But yeah, I'll be interested to see how Nese does. I like Tony Nese, really good wrestler. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he does as the quote unquote top guy of that brand right now. But I thought it was a very good match, enjoyed it. And next up, after a bunch of horrible pre-show panel talk featuring douchebag Sam Roberts, we got the
That
WrestleMania.
guy sucks.
Oh, he's so horrible. But had the WrestleMania Women's Battle Royal, which Carmella won by pulling a Kenny King.
I was told Lacey Evans or Asuka was supposed to win this match. That is what the big rumor was. It obviously didn't happen. And Carmella winning is fine. The problem with these battle royals, and we'll get into it when we talk about the Andre, nobody's going to do anything with it. Like, it doesn't mean anything. I actually like this match. Like, people got some good spots in. It was nice to see Ember Moon back. There was no real report on when she was supposed to be back, and she was back in like 3 months, maybe less than that, because she got injured at the Rumble. So it was nice to see her back. Kyrie and Candice were in there. Sarah Logan got a nice little run at the end, which was cool to see. Carmella winning is fine. Like, she's over, and I like Carmella. She's someone who has done a lot with very little to work with. I mean, she was the hanger on for Cass and Enzo, and now she's still in the company. She's one of the
Outlive
top.
them both.
Yeah. Oh God, and we'll get into Cass and Enzo later. Fuck. Yeah. But and she's done, like, she does a lot with a little. She's improved in the ring, I feel like, and the stuff with R-Truth is good. She really makes the most out of any situation she's put in. People complain like, oh, it's the same old, like, Carmella, you're not making a new star. If Sarah Logan had won this fucking thing, they weren't going to do anything with her anyway. Let's be completely honest about it. Like, she would have won. And then the Riot Squad would have been losing in 6 women tag matches tomorrow night or tonight on Raw. So it wasn't going to matter. Having Carmella win it was a nice little pop, and whatever. She'll dance, and you can call her the Battle Royal winner, and it'll be fine. Like, look what they did with Naomi after she won last year. The match doesn't mean anything.
The good news is they got this match out of the way early, because they spent the next 5.5 hours painting her pants on for her appearance before the main event. And
Carmella is an attractive woman. I will say that. She made a comment months ago. I went to a SmackDown Live event, and it's striking just how beautiful she is in person. And she's like, I look better in person. I was like, I wholeheartedly agree with that.
Yeah. Sister can wear a pair of pants, let me tell you. And I mean that with the utmost respect. Gorgeous woman. But yeah, good for her. And like you said, she's over. Fans love her and R-Truth. And, hopefully they'll do something with it. I'm not going to hold my breath because, as we said, the track record with the Battle Royal winners isn't good. I don't have a big problem with her winning. I think it would have been nice for Asuka to win after, they had to give the title to Charlotte and everything. But again, it's not a big deal. It's fine. So, good for her. And so she's the big winner. Next up was the Raw Tag Team title match. Kurt Hawkins' losing streak is finally over as the Edgehead / Major Brothers reunite and defeat the Revival in 13.5 minutes. The hometown boys make good. And, they may lose them on Raw tonight, but damn it, they won at WrestleMania.
It was a cool moment, and this match was so much better than it had any right to be, because it was really thrown together. Like, the Hawkins and Ryder have either been losing or not on television. The Revival lost a bunch to Ricochet and Black, and then won on some screwy count out thing on Raw. And then they did a WWE.com exclusive of, hey, we challenge you for the titles. And it's like, why the fuck should these guys get a title shot? Like, they haven't won anything. And again, it was all like there was no television hints of this match happening. And then they go out there, they have the story of Kurt Hawkins is a very easy story when you've lost 269 matches in a row. And they got the crowd really into it. They got the crowd on some near falls. They worked really hard. The moment was good with Hawkins and Ryder winning. They made the most out of really nothing that was there. And it's a credit to all four men. And Zack Ryder had a good week. He got engaged to Chelsea Green, and now he's a WWE champion again. And yeah, they might lose the titles on Raw. It would be a very Zack Ryder thing to do to him, to give him the WrestleMania moment and then have him lose the next night. But it was a cool moment. And again, credit to all four of these guys for working hard, getting the crowd into it, despite the crowd having no reason to actually care about this match.
Yeah, I think the best thing was afterwards, Zack Ryder posted a picture with young Nicholas from last year, and it was like, "Thanks for the advice, brother." It was like, dude, okay, that was funny. But my only problem with any of this is the fact that they dicked around for so long, and as you said, threw it together, that they really missed a chance to tell a good story. The whole Kurt Hawkins losing thing, he reunites with the one guy he's had success with in the company, and they're going home, they're going to WrestleMania, and they're going to challenge for the titles. It's an easy story. It's a simple story, which should have been told, which should have added to this. But again, they made the most out of it. It was a good match. I was happy for both guys. I mean, the Revival, I love them, but I think they may leave at some point because they don't seem very happy.
Their contracts aren't up reportedly until April 2020. So if they want to leave, they've got a little while, and we'll see. If I don't know what they're feeling. I watched the WWE Now roundtable with them, Sasha and Bailey, and they clearly care about this.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know if they're the type of guys who are going to say, screw it, let's leave. We'll be happier elsewhere, going to AEW or wherever, or we're going to prove everybody wrong. We're going to keep grinding. We're going to, make tag team wrestling mean something in WWE. And who knows, by April 2020, they might be so beaten down. They're just like, screw it. But it's tough to read into a wrestler's mindset when it comes to that. Like a guy like Dean Ambrose, has been there. Like he's accomplished all he's kind of needed to accomplish in WWE. So he has the freedom to just say, forget it. I want to be creatively happy at this point. And, I'm not in it for the money. I just want to, be creatively satisfied so I can go elsewhere. Where a team like the Revival might say, we want to be creatively satisfied, but we only want to do it in WWE because this has been kind of our dream and we want to really make the most out of it. So again, it's tough to know with mindsets, but their contracts aren't up reportedly until April 2020. So who knows how the landscape is going to change a year from now and how their minds are going to change a year from now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Speaking of tag team wrestling, I want to bring up a point that over the weekend I watched LAX face Low Key and Ricky Martinez on the Impact pay-per-view, which we're going to talk in the next episode. And that match was like pretty good. It wasn't anything special. And then I watched LAX versus the Rock and Roll Express. And LAX had a better match with the Rock and Roll Express in the year of our Lord 2019, featuring Ricky Morton doing suicide dives and a fucking Canadian destroyer.
I watched both of those matches as well, and yeah, the Rock and Roll Express are still the best tag team ever.
And the thing is like, it was just, they didn't do like a lot of special shit or anything. It's just that they go in there, they want to tell a story still, fans still react to them. LAX were probably marking out getting to work with them. And it was just, It was so much fun. But yeah, Ricky Morton, the best GIF I saw all weekend, well, there's two of them. The second best GIF was Ricky Morton doing the Canadian Destroyer with his glorious mullet just floating like in slow motion in the air. It was great. The other thing I saw, which was possibly the greatest one-man performance I saw all time of my life, was from Joey Janela's Spring Break, Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan. And the star of this match was famed Chikara referee Bryce Remsburg. To explain it, obviously, there's no wrestlers in the ring. They're invisible. So Bryce gets Joey's sunglasses so that he can see the men. Because Joey's like the only one that can see it. And then he proceeds to ref this match. And he goes into sequences like they're doing like fast near falls. And then like all of a sudden 2 chairs get in the ring. And the invisible men are brawling on the chairs. And then Bryce has to keep stopping the action. He has to put on gloves because one of the invisible men are busted open. And it's just like, it may sound stupid to you, but it may be one of the greatest one-man performances I've ever seen. It was just
the Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan match was so dumb, but awesomely dumb. Yeah, the referee in that match was so good, and it like he had to carry everything. It's literally not anybody else wrestling, so everybody is just reacting to what the referee is doing, and it really was a great just a one-man show. Janela's Spring Break is always a weird and fun show, and I truthfully can't believe they pulled off a 2 Invisible Man, Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan match. Like the thinking behind that is already a weird concept. Just an invisible man, like it's basically a wrestler wrestling himself, and we've seen it in the clusterfuck in previous years. And now you're basically asking a referee to referee a match by himself, and they pulled it off in a great manner.
Yeah, and Bryce was like the only guy for that job. He's a good referee, period. But all the work he's done with Chikara over the years, and I think he does like improv and stand-up stuff too, but he was just so good. So again, it may sound silly and stupid, but it was quite amazing actually. So back to Mania real quick. Andre the Giant Memorial Geek Battle Royal. Braun Strowman won, last eliminating the shitheads from SNL, which they ended up getting pretty much no publicity from.
Yeah, we talked about it last time, and I said you've got to get Braun on Saturday Night Live the night before WrestleMania. Like they had a show. If Braun doesn't come in there and do something, destroy the set, just show up and Jost and Che run away, like what is the point of all this? Not only did they not get Braun on the show, like they didn't even get a mention. Jost and Che, they're the weekend update host. Like that's the news segment of Saturday Night Live. So they're talking about the news in the world. It's not news that they're going to be on WrestleMania 35, and everyone knew this was going to be on the USA portion of the kickoff show. You can't have them say, hey, by the way, 6 p.m. tomorrow night, USA Network, Colin Jost, Michael Che, we're going to be in this battle royal and we're going to beat up Braun Strowman. We're going to, be wrestling champions or whatever. Like, tune in. That's it. A 30-second read on it. Just something. And they got
even
nothing.
Even worse than that, for anybody internationally listening, so you fully understand, Saturday Night Live airs on NBC network television. The USA Network is part of the NBC Universal family.
Yeah.
So It's not like they would be advertising an appearance on a rival network.
Right.
There's synergy there.
I can't believe they got nothing out of this. You know, maybe they mention it this week on the show. I'm not actually sure if they have a show, but maybe they mention it this week. But it's too late at that point. I'm sure they will show clips and fine, that's cool. They did nothing to get viewers to tune into the show. Like, it's happened. Just very weird, and it really makes the whole thing pointless. Like, that felt like the point of just having these guys there, is you get that free SNL promotion, and you didn't get that. So what was the point of having these guys outside of, hey, we got 2 stars on the show who did nothing to actually promote the show on their show? As far as the whole thing, like, the Battle Royal sucked. I'm glad Mustafa Ali is okay. And everyone knew it was going to come down to Jost and Che and Braun, and it did. It was meaningless. Braun wins. Whatever. They've done nothing with previous Battle Royal winners like Cesaro, Mojo, Matt Hardy won it last year, I think. Corbin, Big Show. Like, what's the biggest accomplishment of these 5 guys? A tag team championship between Cesaro and Matt Hardy. I guess Corbin wrestled Angle in his final match. But the winner of this is meaningless. Like, if anything, it probably hurts Braun even further.
I think the most newsworthy thing was the fact that, besides Ali being alive, is Braun was like a little trimmed down and super jacked.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Large.
I noticed that on Raw in the segment with Alexa Bliss a couple weeks ago. Is this guy is shredded right now? I don't know what kind of diet or workout regime he's on, but he's not just a
body, brother.
He's not just a big dude, like, you know, kind of not fat but not flabby. Like, he's ripped right now. Like, good on him for getting into that shape. I hope it doesn't go to waste like it did for Rusev.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things that he, you know, saw he wasn't getting the big push and everything, and maybe he decided, like, you know, Vince likes big dudes and he likes dudes with muscles and everything. And again, we're not saying Braun was out of shape or anything, but he had a strongman body, which, you know, strongman is like a power lifter. You look big and bulky and you can tell you have muscles, but you're not jacked. You know, you're not shredded. You're not leaned out. And he looks like he lost a little weight. And he came out and he ripped off that shirt, man. And I was like, fuck. It's like, dude, brother is in shape. So, so it's it'll be interesting to see what they do with Braun. Probably a good idea to shake up the movement away from Raw for a little bit, and see what happens. I don't know if that's going to matter, but, you know, we'll see. But the pay-per-view then properly started off 2 days ago with Alexa Bliss coming out, and she brought out the brother dude Jack, Hulk Hogan, and they did a little wacky opening segment, and Paul Heyman stormed out, and he was like, listen, we're not waiting to later if we're not the main event. Brock is going to retain the title, and we're going to go to Las Vegas where we're ultimately appreciated. And they called out Seth Rollins for the title match. Brock kicked his ass for like 5 minutes on the floor. The bell finally rang. They did a little ref bump. Rollins low-blowed Brock, hit a super kick, 3 blackouts. New champion, Brock is done.
I thought this was a good call to kind of open the match or open the show with this. We're not going to talk about Hulk Hogan opening the show and screwing up the name again, which he claims was
fuck that guy.
Work. I agree. I thought this, I like Paul Heyman just coming out and be like, no, fuck this Hulk Hogan posing bullshit. Like, we're getting down to business here. I thought this was a good call to open the show with this. The explanation made sense. Like, if I'm not in the main event, fuck it. I want to get this shit over with so I can go to Vegas and get my training going. And they did it perfectly. You know, Brock beat his ass before the bell. He took him to Suplex City. Rollins used kind of underhanded tactics, 3 stomps, and you're out. You didn't need a prolonged match. Rollins gets his big moment. Brock gets slayed, and I think they could have had a good match, honestly, because Brock works well with these smaller guys. But I think that for this story, it was much better this way, and I'm glad Seth Rollins is the champion. You know, he's going to defend the title every night. He's going to go take it to the live events, and he's going to be the workhorse that he was with the Intercontinental title. And Brock will go away until the Saudi show, I guess.
Yeah, I thought the whole thing was a really well done and smart piece of business. Not just because it puts Rollins over well, but the other thing is they did it so early in the show, everybody was still awake. So when he came out, he got a huge reaction. And then when he won, got an even bigger reaction, which not only did he beat Brock and win the title, but with the reactions on top of it, just came off like a complete superstar. And I have no complaints with how they did it, when they did it, why they did it. All made sense to me. I'm glad Brock didn't talk his way into another contract, as I feared, and stuck around and kept the title. We need, and it's not like I hate Brock. It's just the fact that like I hate how they book him, and I think it doesn't do the shows any good, and it doesn't do the roster any good. And we need, you need a fresh coat of paint. And as you said, Seth Rollins, workhorse, he can work with all kind of guys, and good call. So yeah, loved it, loved it, loved it. So we went on to what was rumored to be the original starting match, and apparently Hulk Hogan didn't know that Heyman was going to come out as the report from Meltzer. They were supposed to open with AJ Styles and Randy Orton, which ended up going second. And to my surprise, I thought Orton was going to win, but AJ Styles beat Randy Orton, Jeremy.
No one saw this match, apparently. There was a light that WWE would not turn off during this match. And so the live crowd, they were distracted. They wanted the light off. They couldn't see the match. And so it distracted me as a viewer at home because the crowd was clearly into chanting for this light instead of watching this match. And they pop big at one point, and Orton like raises his arms in the air because Orton and Styles probably have no clue what's going on. And I saw Orton issue an apology on behalf of WWE for this light being on during his match. They don't know what's going on. Orton just hears this pop, and so he's just trying to play up to the crowd and stuff. It was a good match. Like, Randy Orton is a technically fine wrestler. AJ Styles is AJ Styles, but because the crowd was just not really into it, it just sort of it took away. And I probably enjoyed this match more than I should have because of the crowd was not into it. Just because I really liked AJ. I really like AJ Styles, and I think Orton can have these good matches with these good wrestlers. Like the teases of the RKO. I like the spot where Orton or AJ goes for the phenomenal forearm, but it's a tease, and so Orton drops to his back going for the RKO, and then AJ hits the springboard 450. Like, I mean, AJ Styles is fantastic. Anytime you can do the pump fakes on the RKO, Christian and Orton, when they had all their classic matches, Christian, when he would springboard up to the second rope and then leap back, and one time Orton caught him with the RKO, and then in the matches after that, Christian would pump fake that, and so Orton would go for the RKO and put himself in danger. And it was the same thing here. I really like when wrestlers do that and sort of catch on, and you play off of previous spots like that. It would have been better, I think, if the crowd was just not blinded by the light.
Yeah, I thought it was good. I like the points you brought up, the fake outs and stuff. But it's like my problem with Orton is, as you said, he's technically a good wrestler, but I feel that he has a comfort zone, and he never wants to come out of it. He rarely goes outside the box, and it's like you pretty much know what you're getting, unless it's like Jinder Mahal or Bray Wyatt with fucking snakes and worms in the ring. He's gonna have a good match. It'll be a fine match, possibly great, but it's just like his like upper tier potential just feels like it's not there a lot of the time because he doesn't want to. He wants to do Randy Orton things, and that's it. And you know what? I mean, WWE likes that. They keep him around. They give him a reduced schedule. He's a name people know. Whole generation grew up on him, whatever. But yeah, I hoped it would be better. But it was good. I had no real problem with it. I was hoping that like, because sometimes like, when Randy works in his box, he feels like here's second gear. I'm gonna stay there. I don't like expending energy. You know, I want to see like more aggression. You know, picking up a little bit because the guy's a good athlete and everything. I'm not asking him to do swantons and 630s or anything like that shit. I want a little aggression and energy. But you know, it's yeah, it was a good match. So.
Yeah, that I agree with you on Orton is that he's going to work his match. And I mean, the guy's like 40 years old, maybe a little younger than that. He's, I guess, earned the right to do that. It is WrestleMania. You'd like to see him do a little bit more in that regard. But I truthfully didn't have a problem with this match. I thought it was good. I don't mind Orton, and AJ is AJ. It does almost feel like AJ, they've left a lot on the table with his WrestleMania matches. I mean, it's weird, but this is what, his fourth WrestleMania? Like, it doesn't feel like he's been there for 4 years. And the Jericho match is it really AJ's fourth WrestleMania? Jesus.
Yeah, he did Jericho, Shane, Nakamura,
yeah.
and Orton.
It just feels weird that AJ Styles has been at 4 WrestleManias. It almost feels like he was just in the company, like he just debuted like last year, but he's really been there for 4 WrestleManias now. Yeah, the Jericho match was pretty underwhelming, all things considered. The Shane match was better than it had any right to be because Shane is just always going to kind of bump, and AJ can work that pace well. The Nakamura match was a severe, severe disappointment. I don't think anybody can call it anything but a disappointment. And this match was just kind of average at best. And I mean, yeah, I liked it more than others, but if you think it was just sort of an average match, like I can't really argue with that. It certainly wasn't anything like this is a spectacular go out of your way to see WrestleMania match. And it's like this guy's had 4 WrestleMania matches now, and fuck, Shane McMahon might be the best one he's had, and he's worked with Nakamura, Orton, and Chris Jericho.
Yeah, and you know, I think my problem with this match is something I had with a lot of the matches. Like, there wasn't a lot of bad, but the bad on the show was bad. And the good was good, but it also felt like it's WrestleMania. It should be a little better, should feel more important. But when you say something like that, everybody's defense is WrestleMania is not about great wrestling. It's about moments. So I must have imagined all the great WrestleMania matches I've seen over the years. Because I'm sorry, there's been a shitload of great WrestleMania matches. And I'm sorry that on the biggest show of the year from the biggest company in the world that I maybe expect a little more. You know, like when I watch Wrestle Kingdom, I expect some great fucking wrestling. Because it's the biggest show of their year. Kicks off the calendar year pretty much for wrestling. Many times sets the stage, sets the pace, leader in the clubhouse, however you want to say it. But I expect a lot out of Wrestle Kingdom. Same thing for WrestleMania. You can't keep telling me that they're the biggest and best company in the world and then expect me not to hold them to a high standard. It's the biggest pay-per-view of the year. It's a giant money-making pay-per-view. That's great. I like the moments we got. I loved Ryder and Hawkins win. I loved Rollins win. Loved Kofi winning. Loved Becky winning. But I also wanted some really great wrestling to go with that, and I didn't think I got it. I got a lot of good, and I got some bad. So, but speaking of, quality, we will get to the SmackDown Tag Title match. the Usos retained against The Bar, Nakamura and Rusev, and Ricochet and Black. I thought it was very good. Thought everybody got some time to shine. I think if it would have got a little more time, would have been even better. But I thought it was very good. Jeremy.
Good match. It's tough to, all these guys are really good workers. And yeah, everybody got to shine. The Usos, it's tough to have a bad match with them, and The Bar, Ricochet and Black, Rusev, Nakamura. Like there's really not a bad worker. I mean, an unmotivated Nakamura is probably the worst worker in this match. And I really want to see a Cesaro and Ricochet feud. Like the stuff that those two guys did. Cesaro is just so good, and Ricochet is obviously really good as well. I really just want to see these guys feud. Give me a Bar against Ricochet and Black feud. Like, just give that to me right now. Let these guys, give them a pay-per-view where they get 15 to 20 minutes and just let them tear the house down, because that would just be an amazing match. And as far as this match goes, yeah, short, but everybody got their stuff in. I'm fine with the Usos winning. I really like the Usos. They just signed new contracts, so they're not going anywhere. Yeah, good match. No complaints about it.
Yeah, the thing with Cesaro is, and I say it a lot, and then people ask me what I mean, so I have to explain it. He is like the perfect base wrestler. He's big, he's athletic, and he's strong. He can do things with the smaller guys, but he's also the perfect guy to catch them and to take their offense. And that goes back to like when he was working in Chikara, because he was one of the bigger and taller guys, always had that strength. And then you look at some of the shit that they would do, and it's like, how is that even fucking possible? And it's because you got this, this big ass Swiss dude who's strong as hell, helping these dudes. Like there's this fucking clip of him and Quackenbush where they basically do this, like, it's basically like a Canadian destroyer thing almost, and they do like a fucking double rotation on it, and it's like, how the fuck did you do that? But yeah, it's just, he's so very good. Yeah, I would love to see him and Ricochet. Yeah, I'm fine with the tag feud. I'd love to see him and Ricochet get 16 17 minutes on fuck TV or pay-per-view, I don't care. Just put it in my veins. Give it to me. So, but yeah, lot of really good stuff in this match. It was a lot of fun. Crowd seemed into it. No real complaints. I was a little surprised that the Usos retained, because I thought they were going to kind of play up like the punishment angle thing, since the match was made since they forfeited the gauntlet against the New Day. But yeah, no problems with them retaining. They're really great. And yeah, good deal. So next up was the Falls Count Anywhere match. The best in the world, Shane McMahon, defeating The Miz when Miz hit a superplex off of the camera platform down onto the crash patty platform, and Shane landed on top and ended up winning. Your thoughts?
I mean, Papa Miz getting in there and squaring up was obviously the highlight of this match. That's all I feel like anyone's going to remember. It's already this huge meme on social media. It was every Shane McMahon WrestleMania match, to where he takes a lot of crazy bumps. He gets the shit kicked out of him. He overcomes stuff that he shouldn't overcome, like the skull crushing finale on the platform. Like that really should have been the end of the match, because I mean, fuck, I don't mind Shane McMahon matches, because I give the guy credit for going out there and still taking these insane bumps that he should not be taking at his age and just at the state of his life right now. But I don't need it stretched out. I don't need Super Shane to kick out of all this shit. And then, yeah, he wins because Miz suplexes him off the platform and Shane McMahon ends up on top. Like, it's just self-indulgent nonsense from the McMahon family, and it did. I don't feel like it did Miz any favors, and you're not building Shane towards anything. So why is this guy winning the match? Like maybe they do a rematch and whatever, Miz wins. It's just it went a little too long for my taste. There was nothing like wrong with it as far as the bumps go. I enjoyed the beatdown and stuff. It's just it wasn't all that necessary. None of these Shane McMahon matches are necessary.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I think if Miz wants a rematch, his best bet is to challenge Shane to a boxing match because he's probably only going to get hit like once or twice.
I don't know why. I did like the spot. Again, the Papa Miz squaring up and then Shane throwing like a flying knee out of it. I cackled so hard at that. I was like, you can't strike with the best striker in the world, Shane McMahon. Like, fastest hands in the West, Shane McMahon. What was this guy thinking? That was the best moment of the match to me is Shane throwing this fucking flying knee at old Papa Miz there. Yeah, I think a boxing match it would be stupid but perfect. Didn't Miz and Pewter have some type of like boxing match on Tough Enough? I feel like I've seen Miz in boxing gloves before. Maybe I'm thinking of his challenge days, but Miz can scrap. I'm sure he doesn't like getting hit in the face, but I don't need any more of this feud. Miz should have won, and that should have been the end of that. Like poor Mizanin family. Miz's dad gets his ass kicked, and then Miz still loses the match.
Yep, Miz kicked his own ass. But so what are you gonna do? Yeah, I'm over Shane. I mean, it's just I don't think he really adds much. The matches can be fun sometimes, but and I know a lot of other people like him a lot more than I do, and that's fine. But I'm just kind of over it. So we moved on to the Women's Tag Team Championship match. The Iconics defeated Beth Phoenix and Natalya, Tamina and Nia Jax, and the champions Sasha Banks and Bayley to win the championships. Did not think this was good.
No.
Tamina and Nia Jax are just so very bad. I thought Beth looked really good for not wrestling in like 6 years for the most part. She's in good shape. She worked hard. The Iconics they're fun and everything, but they're not good wrestlers at all. And to me, I didn't get the title change.
I love the Iconics. I love their gimmick. Yeah, they're not the best wrestlers in the world in the ring, and I feel like they barely wrestled in this match, honestly. But they did iconic things and they stole the victory, which is kind of how they should be. I had no problem with the title change, honestly, because again, I love this duo. I think they're both great in this role. It's not going to lead to spectacular matches. I don't even know how long they're going to hold the titles. I gotta be honest with Sasha Banks and Bayley though. Their run wasn't great. Like, yeah, this match was really clunky, and some of that I felt like was on Sasha and Bayley, and even their title run, like that match with the Iconics. Like, all right, the Iconics aren't great in the ring, but you go back and watch that match, and like there's clunkiness in that match, and it's on Sasha and Bayley for some of the stuff that like the timing getting messed up, and a large portion of this match was Boston Hug against Divas of Doom, and it was fine. Like, yeah, Beth looked good, but it was just it was just kind of a clunky little match that they gave the top four women the most time to sort of deliver something, and it just never felt like it was this smooth match that really delivered with the heat that it should have. And I don't know what it is. Like, people kind of make fun of it. You can tell when Sasha is losing. Like
Oh, she gets boo-boo face, yeah.
yeah, like it's very obvious. And, people like to say, oh, you can only see it in the aftermath. And like, no, you can see it immediately. And then it's pointed out more in the aftermath because it's like, yeah, well, you can see that that was happening. And I'm not saying she goes out there and has bad matches because she's losing, because she knows she's losing, but you can just tell when she's losing. And the fact that she went out there and I don't think had that great of a performance isn't the best representation of her because I mean Sasha is really really good. And yeah, I don't know, this match didn't do a whole lot for me. I mean, eight, I guess eight of the women aren't that great in the ring, and then the other, I don't know why I said eight. There's only eight. I told you I'm terrible at math. Four of the women aren't great in the ring, and then the other four just didn't deliver where I thought they should have delivered. So it was what it was. I like the title change. I like the Iconics. I don't know how long they're gonna hold the titles, but I don't have an issue with them.
Yeah, all fair points, man. No, I can't really argue with you. Yeah, no, I don't think anybody looked good in the match. But again, it is. I mean, yeah, you can be really good, but I mean, it's hard to pull anything good out of fucking Tamina and Nia.
Yeah, it
And
really is.
and it's like, I don't, and I never want people to think that I don't think that Billy and Peyton try. They obviously try and work hard, but there's times where like Billy Kay looks like an uncoordinated baby giraffe. She has these like giantly long legs, and it's just like her coordination feels really off. I mean, yeah, it's like we'll talk about Kelly Klein on the next show. Jesus Christ, yeah, it wasn't good. So thankfully, though, we moved on to something of quality, which I thought was the best match on the show. Kofi Kingston winning the WWE Championship, defeating the new Daniel Bryan. Won about 24 minutes. New Day were at ringside. They had the crowd into it. They were showing the baby faces backstage supporting Kofi. And it was one of those matches. It was kind of like the Gargano match we talked about, to where every time Kofi looked like he would get rolling, kept getting cut off, kept having to overcome, and he finally won, completing the story. And sweet moment afterwards, got to celebrate with his little boys. And yeah, it's just, we talk about, pro wrestling when it's done right is really, really easy. And the match I thought was excellent. Bryan was a great heel and technician, just torturing Kofi. Kofi was your resilient underdog babyface. Crowd was with him for everything. You had the emotional result and culmination of his journey, which he had worked hard for 11 years. And, it's when you create characters that fans can actually invest in, and you give a clear goal for that character to accomplish, and then you tell an effective story and you finally deliver on it, that's just pro wrestling. That's what it is, and that's why it worked. Because you not only had the excellent match, but you had the story, you had characters people can invest in, and that's why it worked. I thought this was just excellent.
I don't think you went five. What'd you go, like 4.25 or something on this?
4.5, I think.
Yeah. I mean that's fine. I always trust your wrestling opinion. As far as just like pro wrestling goes and everything that I'm looking for in my pro wrestling, and I'm not the person to give star ratings. I'm the person to just give how did this match make me feel ratings. And this match gave me all of the feels. Like from start to finish, the story was so good building up to it. The match was just amazing as far as I'm concerned. And Kofi winning was such a great moment. Like from start to finish, from the entrance to the New Day leaving the ring, like this encapsulates just everything I love about pro wrestling. be because like they told an organic story. Really a story that if you believe all the behind the scenes stuff, like this was not supposed to happen in the least. Like Kofi was never supposed to be in this spot. He was supposed to, have his match at Fastlane, and then this was supposed to be the spot for Kevin Owens, who couldn't even get on this show. And then who knows what Kofi would have been doing at WrestleMania. And the crowd got him over, his performances got him over, and they put him in this spot, and he delivered in spades. Like it was just such an amazing moment. Like I legit had a tear in my eye. I'm not afraid to admit that, because it was, again, just everything I love about pro wrestling. And I know everyone will talk about the moment being about Kofi, and it should be. Can we take a moment to just appreciate how good Daniel Bryan is and has been during this run?
Yeah.
He, like, a year ago, his return felt like a big deal, and then they almost immediately killed it by doing the stupid stretcher spot. And then his babyface run was just kind of there. Like the Miz matches were fine, but
he feuded with Big fucking Cass.
Yeah, the Big Cass feud was dead on arrival. And then he turns heel. He has been so good as a heel. Just his mannerisms. Remember when this guy, like, the knock on him was he can't cut a promo? For my money, he is one of the best promo guys in WWE right now. The line leading up to this match of "you guys are replaceable. We can take 3 guys from NXT, call them up, call them fresh afternoon, and have the same deal." So, like, when he walked out, when he was named the Gauntlet replacement, or the final boss in the Gauntlet match, and Big E and Xavier Woods are walking to the back, and Bryan just has this smirk on his face, like,
oh yeah,
guys, like, this guy's amazing. And Kofi is so good in this role as well. Again, I don't do star ratings, but if you're just looking for a match that's like, what is professional wrestling to you? Like, what's just a good professional wrestling match, professional wrestling moment? Like, this is the match I'm showing people of recent memory anyway. It's like, this is the match you want to watch, because this has everything you could ever want from professional wrestling, whether it's great wrestling, whether it's great story, a great moment, whatever you're looking for. Like, this match just had it all to me.
Yeah, and you kind of talked about, like, getting a little teary, and what always gets me is things with kids. Because I'm a father with two daughters, and I about lost it when he brought his sons in, man. Not
Dude,
gonna
the
lie.
one kid was having the time of his life too. Like, it was so good.
It was, and if you saw the Hall of Fame ceremony, his one son was having the best time, because like the New Day were all wearing like similar suits, and his son was like mini Kofi, wearing like a matching suit and everything, and yeah, it was just so good. But yeah, hell of a weekend for him. And people are like, oh, it just feels like a lifetime achievement award. Well, the thing is, though, is that is part of the story almost. That he worked hard for 11 years, and he had his ups, but he had a lot of downs. And then he ended up getting this journey by complete accident. And that's how things work sometimes. And it's just, I'm glad that they followed up on it, followed through. Don't know how long the run will last, but I mean, great, excellent match, great post-match moment, just a great package overall. So we moved on. Alexa Bliss met with the SNL geeks who were in the trainer's room, and then we got a 1999 Nitro segment. As Hall and Nash arrived, dressed as doctors, and offered a free prostate exam, complete with the snapping the glove on the hand.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, I don't know why you needed this segment, but whatever.
Comedy, man. Vince probably thought that was the funniest shit he saw all year. You know how he is. He has a weird sense of humor.
He does.
Next match was U.S. champion Samoa Joe defeating Rey Mysterio in a minute. Rey kind of got to run wild a little bit. Joe cut him off, locked in the choke, and that was it. Again, I have no problem especially on a 7.5 hour show with a short match thrown in. I think part of the problem was that Ray wasn't fully ready to go. So he injured his ankle on Raw. But the good thing is while it kind of sucks because I think these two can have a great match, the fact is Joe gets his first Mania win, and he looked like a fucking beast doing so. So I'm perfectly fine with it.
You were never going to follow Kofi and Bryan. So
yeah, and that's another good point.
You were just never going to follow that match. And if Ray had a screwed up ankle, which, I mean, he did, that was admitted by Ray himself, and he couldn't go a long match, then, doing this short 1 minute match accomplished a lot of things. Again, it brought the crowd down a little bit because you just weren't following Kofi and Bryan. It hid Ray's injury if he couldn't go long, and it put Joe over as just, an absolute beast. Like he beat Rey Mysterio in a minute. So I thought this match accomplished a lot of things. I thought it was perfectly placed. I have no complaints about it at all. The one weird thing was, they said Dominic is going to be ringside, and then Dominic wasn't shown or anything. Like, I guess they didn't want to play it up because Ray wasn't winning. But you still could have gotten something out of that. I feel like just show him at ringside, and then Samoa Joe kicks his dad's ass, and then show him being sad at ringside while Samoa Joe laughs in his face. Like, they could have gotten more out of that. But as far as what they went out to accomplish in this match, it worked to me.
Yeah, again, no complaints from me. And honestly, like you said, you weren't going to follow Bryan and Kofi. And, like Joe, it's good for Joe. Looks like a beast. And they can, they'll likely continue it and save the Dominic stuff for when they do that. And so we'll see what happens. But next up was the big dog Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre. Roman Reigns won in about 11 minutes. I thought it was a perfectly solid but unspectacular match. It didn't feel like a WrestleMania match. It felt like a Raw match. There was really like no fire to it. There was no reason to get invested in the work. And the crowd didn't care because they were doing the fucking wave during it.
Roman, I don't want to be too harsh on him because I don't think he's 100% yet. This was his first singles match since coming back. His only other match since announcing his return was the tag team match with the Shield, where obviously they could play the hits. He could be hidden behind Ambrose and Rollins and not have to do all that much. Roman clearly isn't ring ready, at least not to the point you would want him to be, or you not want him, but you know what I mean? Like he's not ring ready at this point. And there's nothing wrong with that. The guy fucking just battled leukemia for 4 months. The fact that he's back at all just speaks volumes about his doctors, I guess, and his immune system, or the work he put into getting through that disease. So yeah, I don't want to be too harsh on Roman here because I understand everything he went through, and he's put in not a great spot because they wanted him for this match. He's obviously good enough to where he said, I can have this match, but he's also clearly not like Roman Reigns, because for all of Roman Reigns' character that people get down on, like the guy could still go in the ring, like bell to bell. He is like a good worker when given the right opponent. And Drew McIntyre is obviously a good worker as well. So this could have been, I feel like, do this match again at SummerSlam when Roman's had more time to really get back into ring shape and get his legs under him. You have a much better match, but it's obvious that Roman is not Roman at this point. The moment was fine. Like Roman got his win, good return for him. We'll see where he goes from here, but I can't be too harsh on Roman. The man just beat leukemia.
Yeah, and I didn't really have a problem with him so much. It was just the entire thing just felt like it was lacking. It never felt like a good intensity. Never felt like they really locked in well, and like I said, it just felt like nobody cared about it. So yeah, it was wasn't bad by any means. It was average, solid. It was fine. It's just, again, it's one of those things that on WrestleMania, and you're perceived as one of the top stars of the company. I expect a little more out of you, both guys, and it's just, I don't think anybody really delivered. Elias came out for his big performance. They cloned him. He was playing drums and piano and was going to sing. And then John Cena returned as the Doctor of Thugonomics, complete with his basic Thugonomics music. He threw some rhymes out at Elias, making fun at him, joking about turning heel and burying Elias's push. And then he laid him out with the FU, which he did call the FU. And that was John Cena's contribution to WrestleMania 31.
I thought this was great. I'm still a huge John Cena fan, and Mark, I have no problem saying that. The Doctor of Thugonomics gimmick was awesome for its time. The fact that he came out and did that here, I loved. It buries Elias, but let's be honest about Elias. The guy's gonna get his heat regardless. He's not exactly a wrestling machine. Like he's a character. He's admitted that himself. Like he is a character, and the character needs to get beat up sometimes. And if he's getting beat up by John Cena, he's getting beat up by John Cena. And if it leads to sort of an extended thing between them and they have a match and maybe Elias wins, like even better. But WrestleMania is about moments. It's kind of a knock on the show, and I thought this was a very cool moment. I love Thugonomics Cena, the fact that he did his rapping, and I love this segment. I'm a fan of John Cena.
Yeah, it was definitely fun. People seem to really like it. And you know what? It was different. He didn't come out with his weird JBL haircut, so he it was, I had no problem with it. And yeah, it's like no offense. It's not like No Way Jose came out and laid out Elias. And no disrespect to No Way Jose, but it's like, it's John Cena. It gets him on the show. And it was a little different. And I think people appreciated that, because it's like there are people that really like John Cena. And then there are people that like, and John Cena's fun, but I want him to do something different. And it's not so much that John Cena has to turn heel or anything. It's just coming out and doing that felt a little fresh. And it was just a fun little addition. And there you go. So, yeah, we'll see what his involvement is going forward, or, lack of involvement is, depending on his outside schedule. But, it was nice of John to show up.
Yeah. Again, I think the one knock, and we'll kind of get into it because I think Angle is next, is if you were going to do Thugonomics Cena, why wasn't it with Kurt Angle?
Yeah, and that's, I think, again, fair point. But they like Baron Corbin because he's tall, But actually up next was the No Hold Barred match with Triple H's in-ring career on the line. Triple H defeated Batista. Probably would have been better for Batista to win and end his in-ring career. But I was not a fan. I thought this was bad. Bad in a way that was on par with the shit he did with Undertaker in Australia and Saudi Arabia last year. Just everybody's like, oh, it was great sports entertainment. And it was a plunder brawl. And yeah, it was a plunder brawl that was glacially slow, had no energy, and that the crowd really didn't react to anything. Like, they did callback spots to their previous matches. Batista hits like the powerbomb on the steps. Triple H kicks out, and it's like, yay, go NXT Dev. I mean, there's like one dude. There was like nobody reacting to it. And like the thing is too is like when you're using all that plunder, it's like the thing is in a way it's a crutch and it hides things. But the other thing is the plunder tends to get an easy pop. And the plunder didn't even really help in that regard to me. I thought this was bad. I thought it was the worst thing on the show. And a big part of that is that Triple H had to compose one of his magnum opuses going almost 26 minutes.
It. I hate Triple H WrestleMania matches. I mean, really any Triple H match at this point, honestly. The match against Undertaker, I'm pretty sure I called it the worst match of all time because it was the worst match of all time. I don't think this match was that bad. I don't think it was the worst match of all time. I hate these Triple H matches because, as you said, this guy, like, he had the longest match on the show because, of course, he did. I don't need 30 minutes of Triple H. Like, this guy has not been good. A match that, like, everyone loves is that WrestleMania, not the Hell in a Cell, but the WrestleMania match against Undertaker. And I rewatched that match like a year ago, and I'll never watch it again. It is so slow. And every single Triple H match since then is just so slow. Like, the guy just moves in slow motion now. He can't really move. And keep in mind, this match was a decade ago, this Undertaker match. That was what, WrestleMania 26, right?
Yeah.
Like, so it was a decade ago. And I thought he was moving at a snail's pace then. He's 10 years older. And he still wrestles. He does all this travel. They had some cool spots early, the plier spot, the nose ring spot, like that was different and fun. Every Triple H match is really the same. It's just a lot of slow kind of brawling, a lot of setup without much substance, and then Triple H somehow ends up winning. I hated this match. I never want to see Triple H wrestle again. I don't like Batista hasn't wrestled in years. I didn't have high hopes for this match because it's a Triple H WrestleMania match, and just having high hopes for any Triple H WrestleMania match is a fool's errand at this point. And Batista clearly looked like a guy who hasn't wrestled in years, and he wasn't moving. Like, he tripped getting into the ring. He wasn't moving well either. Just knock it off. Can't wait until next year when Triple H has to have his another 30-minute classic with whoever the fuck they bring back next year. John Cena, maybe.
No, I can see it next year. He's going to go to the NXT well and drag, like, Gargano up or something because he thinks he's like the second coming of Shawn Michaels and is like, I could have a great match with this guy. We'll go 38 like he did on Takeover and it'll be awesome. It's like, no.
Yeah, that's like, perfectly fine with it. Like, Gargano at least is gonna wrestle. Yeah, Gargano's gonna move, and like, he can bump around and he can make Triple H look good. Like, I have no doubt. Like, yeah, give me. I don't know if it needs to be 30 minutes, but give me that 30-minute match over 30-minute matches against The Undertaker and Batista. But truthfully, just don't give me a 30-minute Triple H match, period.
Exactly, I agree. Next up was Baron Corbin defeating Kurt Angle in Kurt Angle's farewell retirement match in 6 minutes. The good news was Kurt looked better here. He looked a little rough in the lead up to this. He did a little better, had a little more movement. He even busted out the moonsault, which, hey, even at his broken down old ass stage, dude still has a pretty missed moonsault. Because it's like, sometimes someone misses a moonsault and it just kind of looks like shit. But Kurt still got some good air on it. It looked nice. And, I'm not a huge fan of it, but hey, they gave Baron Corbin the big win. Now it's actually up to the company to follow up on it. And it's up for Corbin to actually deliver on the gift that he got, because you don't get to retire Kurt Angle every day, you know?
That's the biggest thing, is how are you going to follow up on this? You give Corbin this win. It should be, like, we'll say what we will about Baron Corbin. I don't think either of us think he's anything special on the mic or in the ring. Like, he's just not good. I don't think he draws legitimate heat or anything like that. But you gave him this win. Do something with it. Like, don't squander this. If you're We don't like Baron Corbin, but if he gets a push out of this, which he should get a push out of this, whether we like him or not, he should get built off of this moment. Then fine, at least they made something of it. It's the wrong guy to give it to, but at least you're making something out of it. If you do nothing with this, then what's the point?
Yeah, if they do nothing with it, it's like, why did you even have Kurt lose then? You know, so hopefully they actually do something, and hopefully he can deliver. I don't think he's any good, but I mean, stranger things have happened. So yeah, Baron Corbin, we'll see what happens. I'm sure he'll be gloating on Raw tonight. Next up, Demon Finn Balor defeated Bobby Lashley to win back the Intercontinental title. Match went a hair under 4 minutes. They teased Finn running wild early. He got cut off. Lashley seemed pretty spry and motivated. He hit the Big E suicide spear to the floor, hit another one. The Demon fired up, ended up hitting a power bomb, the double stomp, and Finn Balor, the Intercontinental Champion once again.
Once the Demon was announced, Balor was never losing this match, so it was fine. Balor, ran wild. Lashley did what he got some spots in, and then I like the power bomb and then the coup de grace. It was what it needed to be, and I had no complaints about it. We'll see what they actually do with Balor with this title, and if they actually bring back the Demon again. It's still a weird concept of why is this guy the Demon in this match, and then why is he not a Demon against Brock Lesnar in the Universal title match? It's just the randomness of we're going to make him the Demon now is just, it's an interesting, I don't even know if it's interesting. It's a weird concept, but whatever.
The worst thing is when they brought back the Demon so that he could beat fucking Baron Corbin.
Yeah, like he needed to be the Demon for that. It's I don't know. The Demon thing is, I like it. It gets a big pop. It's a cool entrance. He looks really good in these matches. It's just, why does this match constitute the Demon and this match doesn't? So like, why wouldn't he just be the Demon for every Intercontinental title defense, and then he'll never lose the Intercontinental title? It is what it is. The match itself was fine. We'll see if they actually do something with Balor in this title, since it's been bounced around for the past few months.
Yeah, that's and again, I have no problem with a shorter match, especially because we were heading towards midnight. And then just after midnight Eastern time, the winner takes all match, Charlotte versus Becky versus Ronda. Becky Lynch, your new Raw and SmackDown Women's Champion. Match went 20-35. There was a bunch of controversy with the finish because Ronda went for Piper's Pit. Becky countered into a crucifix cradle and pinned her. And then like Ronda's shoulder had come up. And so everybody thought they were booking the disputed finish. And then there was some bullshit report that, Ronda was livid with the finish of the match because Becky didn't let her up, and Becky was supposed to beat Charlotte or some bullshit. But according to Big Dave, and it depends on who you believe, Big Dave Meltzer says that was the finish. Ronda's shoulder coming up was just an accident in transition. But Becky got her big moment, and the women main event at WrestleMania for the first time. What did you think?
It should have been a bigger deal. The problem with this match, it's like technically it was fine. There was nothing wrong with the moments in the match. I thought they told the story they wanted to tell. It had some physicality and some brutality to it that seems like a lot of women's matches seem to have. There's this sort of you go back to the days of like Sasha and Charlotte, and there's this feeling of unsafeness in matches. And I'm not saying these ladies are unsafe, but you get that impression from some of these matches. And I actually like that. It adds to sort of the realism of the match. Like that spot that Ronda took where she's hanging upside down over the ropes and then Becky drop kicks her and Ronda falls on her back to the floor. Like that was a cool spot. And it looked like it fucking hurt like hell. Like Ronda's leg got cut up, Charlotte's elbow got cut up, Charlotte screwed up her knee on the Spanish Fly. So there's that feeling of unsafeness and realism to the match that I really enjoy with these women's matches. The problem was the crowd, they were just gassed. Like they'd been watching wrestling for 7 hours, even though this was, the main event, rightfully the main event, even though everybody wanted to cheer for Becky, they didn't have it in them to really get into it like they could have. And this is another mark of why the show needs to be 2 days or cut shorter, because this is your main event. Like this is a historical main event, and the crowd just had nothing left to give to it. And as far as the finish goes, it was clearly screwed up somehow, whether it was the actual finish, whether that was how it was supposed to go. But, Ronda got her shoulder up and the ref messed up. I don't know which story is true. I do know that they screwed it up because her shoulder was up. So unless they were trying to tell the story of it was disputed and Ronda's going to come out on Raw and be like, hey, fuck this. Like my shoulder was up, give me my rematch. And then Becky beats her clean and Ronda goes away. I think that's where it feels like they should go, whether that's the way they wanted to go, because like Becky's win felt sort of hollow because of that moment. Like everyone saw it. Everyone saw the shoulder get up. So like you just have this disputed moment now on Becky's big win, and it took away from the win, and it shouldn't have. Like this was supposed to be Becky's moment, and it wasn't because of that finish. Botched, like it was botched. I don't know what the real finish was supposed to be. That finish was botched.
Oh yeah, I mean it certainly wasn't clean by any fucking means. It's just, and yeah, it's a shame because it just between the crowd's exhaustion, and I think people had like really really high hopes for this, and because like Ronda's been way better than anybody could have imagined in her first year. Becky and Charlotte have had great chemistry, and I was one of them. I was expecting a great match, and I didn't think I got it. Thought it was very good overall, but it just, yeah, it was missing something for me. I don't know.
Yeah, it really didn't feel like the Kofi moment felt like a much bigger deal, and probably because that was an actual clean, non-disputed finish, and it happened at the right time in the show, and the crowd wasn't so burnt out. Like I felt bad for all three ladies. I really felt bad for Becky because this was supposed to be her time. And I'm fine with that. If Ronda's shoulders just stay down clean, or the ref doesn't count it or whatever, if it's just a cleaner finish, if it's just a clean finish, it can still be this like caught her in a roll-up thing. Like that's perfectly fine. That's honestly how Ronda Rousey should be getting beaten. But it wasn't clean. And so it ruined the moment. And now you're either living with that, or you're coming out on Raw and you're having Becky beat her clean. And she has her moment on Raw, which it's not a WrestleMania moment, but like the crowd is going to be hotter on Raw if they get a clean Becky Lynch beating Ronda Rousey finish, because it's a smaller arena. It's going to translate well. And even if you do it at the very end of the show, which is when it should happen, the crowd's just going to be hotter after a 2.5-hour wrestling show than a 7-hour wrestling show.
Yeah. Plus the crowds are always rowdy on the Raw after WrestleMania, so it'll be interesting to see what exactly the follow up is tonight. Apparently, according to Big Dave, Ronda broke her hand in the match, and last night was supposed to be her last match for the foreseeable future. So we'll see what happens. Obviously, we post shit on 411 all the time, and we credit our sources, and sometimes they're right, sometimes they're wrong. I'm not telling you that she has a broken hand or that she's not coming back, but that's the word right now. So we'll see what the follow-up is exactly. We'll see how long she actually holds both titles before they try to split them or whatever. and we'll just see how the run goes overall after that. But yeah, it's just that's another good defense for not running a 7.5 hour show.
It doesn't need to be that long. Like you put this main event in a bad spot, and it's been like this for years, honestly. And you can blame previous WrestleMania main events on poor booking. Like it's been Roman Reigns for 4 straight years. Like the Brock match, there was some heat to it. The Triple H match was dead on arrival. The Undertaker match was pretty dead on arrival. And then last year, the Brock match, there was a little bit of heat to it, and the Brock winning was a surprise. Like this match there just was like, this was the first match where it felt like, hey, we're going to get an excellent match. This has been built up. We have somebody we're behind. Like, we're not behind Roman Reigns. We don't give a shit about Brock. We don't give a shit about Triple H. Undertaker can't move. We're behind these ladies. We're behind this story. And the crowd still could not muster anything up for this. And so, yeah, it's a knock against running a 7.5 hour show because the crowd wanted, like they tried. You could tell they tried to get into this match, and then they just couldn't do it. They could not get up the energy after this show to be like, we're super into this. This is a super hot match. And it was a hot match. There was good moments. There was good spots, and the crowd just, they could not muster that energy for it.
Yeah, and it's asking a lot. And there's going to be a certain sect of people that are going to say that, the women failed and nobody cared, and that's not it. I mean, I think for the most part, if you put anybody in that situation last night, you're asking people after 7 hours to be invested and to get up and to be energized. And it's a hard ask, man. It really is. And I think a lot of people would have got the same reaction in that spot. And it's a shame, but I mean, it's what they do. It's their model right now. And I mean, fuck, they're making billions of dollars off TV rights. They don't give a shit that I thought WrestleMania was average.
I mean, but this is why I think in 3 to 4 years it's going to be moved over 2 nights, because they can still make money. Like, they're not going to lose money if they move it to 2 nights, and then you're not completely burning out the crowd for all of this. Like, if you go back and you watch this WrestleMania main event, you wouldn't get the feeling that this is the hottest match in the company. This is the rightful main event. And like, that's how it should have felt. And at some point they've got to recognize that, hey, we're doing a disservice not only to the fans, but to ourselves. Like, these matches are not as hot. Like, these main event matches are not as hot as they should be because of these long shows. And I think that's why within 3 to 4 years, it's going to happen, and it's going to move to 2 separate nights.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do, but I just I hope they do something. I just think it's too long, and like I said, we'll eventually talk about the G1 show, and I that wasn't as long, but it was still a long show, and it's just, I think when you're hitting 5 hours, man, you're asking a lot of people, and it's just, I don't think shows need to be that long. Thankfully some people have learned their lesson. Like, I noticed, like, a lot of shows over Mania weekend tried to stick to like that 2 hour and 20-minute mark. Get in, get out, move on, let people have a chance to go to other shows. And it's just you don't need these long ass shows. So that's just me, and I know some people seem to think it's great. Oh, I love it. I think it's like the greatest thing that Mania is 7 hours now, because it's WrestleMania, and they kind of put their WrestleMania blinders on, and they tell themselves it's going to be a great show no matter what. And listen, if you like the show or you love the show, I think that's awesome. But again, I always laugh. I get can't you just like wrestling and have a good time? And then, like, I give NXT a good review and give it a 10, and everybody's like, it's so nice when you're just being a fan and you're not analyzing it. It's like, no, I still analyzed and reviewed it. It was just an all-time great show. And I didn't think Mania was. It was a very inconsistent show. I thought a lot of things under-delivered, and then you had like that horrible Triple H Batista match, and yeah, so. But that's WrestleMania, Jeremy, and it's finally over.
It is. I agree with you. Like, I didn't like hate this show. There was some good stuff on the show. Again, Kofi and Bryan is one of my favorite matches and moments in recent memory. I have a hard time coming up with just a better match and a better moment in the past few years, especially WWE wise. And there was some other good stuff on the show. I liked the John Cena moment. I probably liked Orton and Styles more than most. Becky Lynch winning was cool. I liked that match. There was some good stuff with Samoa Joe getting his squash in, the Rollins moment, and that, like, I thought that was laid out perfectly. The tag team match, both of the tag team title matches were really good. Like, there was some good stuff on this show, but 7.5 hours by the end of it. And keep in mind, I know you're uncomfortable in the wheelchair right now, and like, I'm fairly comfortable in the comfort of my own home. Like, I laid on the bed for portions of this. I'm in my office chair, and it's like the show goes until 12:30, and it's just tough to be comfortable for no matter where you're at for 7.5 hours. And I can't imagine how the fans were feeling in that cramped space with those shitty stadium seats, and you're trying to move around in the long lines and all this other stuff, and it's just not. Again, it's a disservice to the crowd to have these shows this long. It's cool if you can be into it all 7.5 hours. Great, more power to you. I think it was obvious that most fans just cannot get into it for all 7.5 hours. And this show, let's be honest, it was laid out very well. Like, they started off hot, they cooled down a little bit, they got hotter with Kofi and Bryan, they cooled it down a little bit more. The Triple H Batista match kind of killed everything, but then they tried to bring it back to life with, I guess they sort of killed it more with Kurt Angle losing to Baron Corbin, but they tried to bring it back to life with Demon Balor and him winning. And then you get the main event, which everybody should be up for. Like, it was laid out very well. There was no excuse for this to, it had its peaks and valleys that you would want it to have if you're trying to, cool down the crowd and then heat them back up and everything. And they still couldn't get into it for the main event. And it's not a knock on the performers. It's not a knock on the layout. It's just a knock on how long this show is.
Yeah, and I agree. It's, I didn't think the show was bad at all either. I thought it was average. I thought there was some good wrestling. I thought Bryan and Kofi was excellent. I thought there were good moments. But for me, I wanted a little more top tier wrestling. You're the biggest company in the world. It's your biggest show of the year. Give me a little more. And that's just me. Again, I think that if people enjoyed the show, it's fantastic. So with that being said, we will wrap up episode 9 here. Please remember you can find the show on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, and of course 411mania.com. And we appreciate you listening. Leave us a review and share the show around. And we will see you next time.